Hi, I'm Denise Dryden, and this is Ashley Fronheiser, and we're doing episode 2 of our exploration of Generation X. And there's so much out there in different articles and reviews and whatnot. So what Ashley and I want to do is take the esoteric, the stuff that we don't always apply towards the Generation X, and recognize the challenges, the strengths, the gifts, the sheer power. And the reason that I want to keep dealing with the Gen X is that that is where the indigo is embedded. So we see sort of the indigo traits, we see the generational traits, we see the magic of this piece. And as we said earlier in our video from episode number 1, is that Ashley and I are on the bookends of Gen X. I'm on the younger baby boomer, older, not quite old Gen X, and you're on the tail end of Gen X in the Z or the Y? The Y.
Zennials.
Yeah. Zennials. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to do something different today. We're going to do question and answer because Ashley's hilarious when I'm pointing to you the wrong way. There you are. Hilarious when we're trying to put personalities onto astrology and planets. So what I'm going to do as the historian is I'm going to do the timeline briefly, like 2 seconds, right? And then we're going to lay out Neptune and Pluto, because Neptune and Pluto, let's see. I'm going to have to make sure I get my notes here. Pluto does 248 days to circle the Earth, right? And Neptune does 165. So these two, they do their own thing. And then there's going to be this period where they dance together. And what we're noticing is between 1958 and 1983, which is the beginning of the seedings, Gen X is between 65 and 80 to 83, right? So during this time of the Gen X, these two are together, and we're going to say that they're in a relationship, right? Because it's Neptune and Pluto. And so Neptune and Pluto do this one dance between 58 and 70 with Virgo and Scorpio. And then Neptune leaves and goes out, and Pluto leaves and comes out. And then 1970 to 83, they're in relationships with Libra and Sag. And so it's so complicated, but it's so much fun the way that we've laid it out. So Ashley, let's talk first about Neptune as a personality, and then the male or female, we can genderize it or not, but let's just give Neptune a personality so we can understand what we're dealing with as a planet.
Okay, thank you. The time I was looking down when you were talking, I was like trying to follow the dates, and I was like looking at my card and like making sure I was staying with it, because a lot of times people think that astrology is very complicated, and I think the what can get complicated is looking at the charts and things like that, but astrology is also part of the complication behind it was people had a taboo on it for so long, and now that's really not there and people can talk freely. So that is why we're taking what seems like complex and simplifying it in a complex way using relationships, because we know that relationships have complexities, but it's going to make a lot more sense to most people. So the personality of Neptune as a as a planet is, if you think about, most people are familiar, or at least with like the archetype of, or the image of Poseidon, who is like this grand king of the ocean. So think of Neptune as being the grand king of the ocean, of the galaxy, of the Milky Way. It's like, comes up, there's a big wave behind it. He's like, Ariel's dad from the Little Mermaid. He's like, I love my children. I love the sea. I love you all. Oh, I care for you. I'm so enchanting and I can do all sorts of wonderful magic. And this is great. So he's doing this, and he's kind of, the people who know him, and the rest of the people just know of him. They might catch a glimpse of him here or there, as Neptune is as a beyond naked eye seeing planet. It can be seen through telescope, but not with the naked eye, much like, Poseidon. If you were, lucky enough to get a glimpse of him up on the top of the rock one day, it was probably through a telescope. So he's this overarching, and I'm using he because it doesn't it has a masculine energy associated with it. However, Neptune is also very much a feminine
All the
receptor.
water. It's
It's all the
water.
water. It's
So then
water.
we associate with the feminine too, which is so interesting.
Right, which is the sea. So it's a kind of a non, we'll call him non-bin, we'll just say they're non-binary for right now. And it's just this well, he's like they're like an androgynous kind of a
And
thing.
all
How
of the planets and gods are. They
they
don't
are.
really hold one personality or the other, right?
Right. But the image that I keep getting is of that, of the kind of that grandness, very like, you know, in very intuitive, gets the situation. Like you come over and you talk to Neptune and he's like, okay, so here's what it is. No big deal. We'll take care of it. It's very go with the flow, very powerful, but not completely unapproachable,
Mhm.
somewhat accessible. Now, Pluto on the
Oh,
other.
deep, wait, deep, and you used the word when we were talking earlier, like penetrable,
Yeah.
like penetrative, like can see right into what's going on. And Neptune rules what? Pisces, Cancer, all the water signs,
Well,
right?
it rules Pisces, but heavily influences Cancer and Scorpio as well.
Yep.
The Cancer and Scorpio are ruled by
Okay.
other ones, but
Just wanted to clarify that. Yeah,
okay,
thank you.
but Neptune is Pisces. So you know, Pisces is you know, it's kind of very, if you think of a Pisces, think of the more outgoing qualities of a Pisces, because Pisces do have a lot of outgoing qualities. They're very bold. They are very self-assured in their when they're standing in their area of niche. They are gregarious if amongst the right, you know,
Yeah,
they
yeah.
can be incredibly popular. Neptune is popular, by the way. Like he's like this planet is a popular. He's
Mhm.
popular. People are excited when he's at the party, when they're aligned with Neptune. It's like, yeah, it's great. It's cool,
Get
great.
to the party,
Right.
Neptune. Yeah.
Um, however, and it's the farthest, it's actually, you know, right now you know, Neptune's like the head of is the head of the planets because now we're going to get to the relationship of the planet that got the only way that they could hurt this planet was by kicking it out of the club. Our dear friend Pluto, who is never really at the party, but is like actually the most like elusive, um, powerful. We don't really know what Pluto's doing, but it's got more power than all of us. And so the only way that we can make sure that it still sticks around is by saying, well, you are not we talk to each other, and you know, you don't really spend a whole lot of time with any of us. You never come to dinner, you never come to the parties, you haven't been to a christening for so long, so you're not getting planetary status anymore, okay? And Pluto's like, fine, whatever. Secretly though, Pluto's like,
Well, they're both outliers, but Pluto's now been like kicked way outside the outlier.
and he
And it's just sort of its feelings are hurt.
and
And yet at the same time, it wants to be noticed. And it has tremendous impact.
and at
Always.
the
Whenever
other
it
time it
acts.
doesn't want to be noticed because it
Mhm.
doesn't want anybody to know what it's doing, and that's part of the reason why it enjoys its secrecy. And that's why they gave, you know, like Mars had Scorpio and Aries, okay? Mars is like, okay, can anybody help me out with this these people right now? Like it's a lot. They're constantly just doing something else. They're never here. I haven't seen them. They're up to something. I can watch Aries no problem.
Yeah.
But so Pluto's like, of course, I will
And
take.
Pluto's always busy because Pluto's putting things together to reveal. Pluto's like working on rebirth and creating new perspectives and sort of nudging newness out all the time. And then kind of, from what I've always seen, Pluto is as sort of the destroyer also, which is kind of like, you thought it was this, let's put a little crack in there and watch it just fall open and go, oh, that's what's underneath. So there's a little bit of secret mad scientist sort of like, let's
Oh
just
yeah.
throw this in here and this in here and watch what happens.
Right. So
Okay.
when Pluto and Neptune were spending some some time in the signs of Virgo, Pluto was in Virgo from 58 to 72,
Yep.
and Neptune was in Scorpio from 57 to 70. So, uh,
Those two together
right?
crack me up. A
It's
Virgo and a Scorpio. a Scorpio in its sign with water, right? It
Mhm.
loves it. It loves Scorpio. And then Pluto in Virgo, which is like a little uptight,
Uptight,
a little,
focused, like
yeah,
the details were being placed in a very kind of almost just a very subtle, elusive, but very powerful way. Pluto's a paradox in so many ways because it's subtle, but it's so powerful at the same time. Subtle, potent, gentle, powerful, you know, transparent, but also unbreakable and impenetrable, and just like you can't you can't break it. And it's like there's nothing bad you can do to it because Pluto's like, I am darkness and I get the light here. So just let me do my thing.
right.
Um, Much like Scorpio. So
Yeah.
Neptune being in Scorpio, that relationship is not, it's a, it works because Neptune gets Scorpio, but the planet of Earth, who these constellations are revolving around,
Oh,
they
yeah.
might, Earth is like the child at the time, so to speak, of this.
Two
Like,
planets.
yeah, like Neptune is like, please understand, like I get the darkness of this particular, I get the transformative, I get the investigative quality of Scorpio, and I totally can keep this here for a while. But Scorpio's like really fixed. It's very like, I mean, what's gonna happen is gonna happen anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And like, you know, like, I mean, it hurts me to a point of I can't really say, so I'm not gonna say anything. So Neptune's like, okay, so we're coming out of the World War II. Okay, you guys are having kids, and this is great. And here I am with this sign right here, and then
Well, and
Pluto's
I've aligned with Pluto, right?
and right, and Pluto's like, hello. Well, I've got Virgo, and let me tell you, like they are in my drawers. They're going through my cabinets. They're rearranging my closet. I can't, like they've gone into my mad scientist laboratory and organized the entire thing throughout so much stuff. What happened between 1958 and 1972? Like
Yes.
a lot of
Almost
stuff.
like it was almost like Virgos have been waiting to get in. And I use the example as like, it's like what happens when you're training for something and you're training for something and you're training for something and then you get to go, you're like, okay,
Yeah.
I've got it. We're gonna do this, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do this. And so even though Virgo's a little mutable, it's still so task oriented in Pluto that
Mhm.
it's hard to watch, you know, as you said, Neptune and Scorpio going like, I don't know what to do with this. And Virgo in Pluto going like, we have changes to make, we have things to do. And there's just this sort of energy, but both of these are exactly what our culture needed, is that marriage, that relationship between those.
Transformation and restructuring. So you got the transformation of how emotions used to be felt, experienced, meaning not really. There was no time too much given to like how big and powerful emotions were. We'll put Scorpio and Neptune. That's a really good way to do it because Neptune's going to use what it has, and it's going to throw this intensity of Scorpio, the emotion of Scorpio right in on top of this planet, and there's going to be waves, and there's going to be this and that and the other thing, and it knows it's going to be okay
Mhm.
because I like to think about Scorpio as like Scorpio will be fine. It's kind of like Neptune, kind of almost think of the constellation it's in as like the little agent that got plopped down on the planet. Like Scorpio will be totally fine. I can't, I'm not gonna watch. I'm just gonna observe. I can't micromanage a Scorpio because it'll just hide. So I'm
Right.
gonna just go back here. It's gonna do its thing. It's gonna get deep. It's gonna go in. They're not gonna know where it is or why they're feeling a certain way, but they're really gonna have to get into, as the young people say these days, get into their feelings a little bit. But at that time of 1958,
To
like
7, yeah.
to 70, feelings. I learned about feelings at Sunday school. Like what? The Bible tells.
I
What
learned
are
about feelings by like a hug between a mother and father in a traditional TV
Mhm.
show. I ugh. I
Scorpio's
had
coming in. Go ahead.
I had Pluto described in one of the things I was reading in Virgo and Pluto as the Jan Brady, which is
Total.
like, how emotional was she really? She was just sort of the one who observed and cleaned and whined and did things the whole time. Yet I didn't mean to cut you off. It was just like this, the non-attachment or the observation of Neptune and Scorpio,
Mhm.
and the physicality of Libra, I mean, excuse me, Virgo in Pluto. It was
Mhm.
like Virgo is about matter.
Mhm.
What matters? Matter,
Mhm.
matter, bringing into form, matter, matter, into form, change, into form, change, into form. So these two are so interesting together.
They are. So you have mad scientist Pluto, who's in the dark doing its thing, who's on the outs, but everybody knows, like, please, he really or she really is really powerful. We know, but we just do our thing. Then you have Virgo comes in, is like, we have to clean this out. You have to do something with this. And this
You
is
need
what
to focus.
we need to focus. And Pluto's like, okay. So Virgo cleans it out, puts a lot of focus into what was in the background. And the only way that you could handle Pluto focused is with its buddy Neptune being in Scorpio. That's like, it'll be fine. This is about transformation. It's fine. This is how we're going to do it. It's going to be fine. Scorpio's like, they're a mess. The world's a mess. The galaxy's a mess anyway. So, might as well just take a deep dive. See how much shit can get fucked today. I mean, it's
Well,
all
yeah.
mess anyway. What's
And,
up with all this
this is
death?
this is my generation. This is 57 to 65. This is me going, oh, I can relate to all of this,
Mm-hmm.
which
See?
is there's this need to organize and to push and to make things happen. And there's also this big picture, like it's going to happen. And so playing both of these, this is how I was raised, and this is how our younger, or I mean, excuse me, our earlier generation X are gonna have that awareness, right? Is that we're gonna hold these two together.
You must do your chores, make your bed, all this stuff, but at the same time, you're going to feel a lot more, and you're also going to push back a lot because Neptune is a big mover. It's waves, it's the tides, it's the moon, it's stuff like they're going to have the first kids. These are the first kids that are like, um, yeah, okay, so I'm not allowed to sleep over, so I'm just going to jump out the back window and I'll be in your backyard in 15 minutes. And my mom won't buy me
Look
those shoes.
around it all, find
I'm
out
gonna
where the rules
figure out
are,
a
and
way.
maybe, yeah.
And nobody's better at that, I think, in the zodiac than Scorpio. You want to work around, find a Scorpio, a cut through a Scorpio, because they're hurt anyway. So it's like, yeah, like they're hurt anyway. They're like, fine, I'll try it. I mean, it's not going to work out either way,
Yes.
And I'm not trying to, poop on Scorpios right now. I am one, so that's why I'm saying, like, we just really overall, it's a very good agent, because its focus on is just not getting murdered. Okay, they just don't want to get murdered. I think most Scorpios, like, really underlying is like, how do I just get through life without having somebody want to murder me? And it's not like they do anything. It's like they're fine. They're not really scared of much. They may say they are, but really it's just like, you know, it's almost like I can't believe I'm still here type of thing. There are a lot of risks involved in this fixed water because it's really deep. And if you're going to go that deep, like, think about running across a field, but think about being in a hole at the bottom of the field, like really deep. I would take Actually, you know what? I'd probably take the hole.
Ah, I'm a double Pisces. I love Scorpios. I think it's why you and I can talk for 3 and 4 hours whenever we get on the phone. Is that once you get into the deep stuff, right? I'd rather be in the hole. I'd rather find out what's underneath it all, which does feed Pluto, because Pluto's a truth seeker. So that when they sort of align with truth, that's where the magnetism is that they both care deeply about the stuff that's unseen that needs to be revealed or brought up to the surface. It's just that Pluto is going to be much more active with it, and Scorpio is going to be much more relaxed with it.
Well, they tend to the unattended.
Yeah.
And normally the unattended are the ones in the back corners. And that's the stuff that needed to get swept and cared for when the generation came through. So
And those were the institutions that had been sticky and old white men ruling the world, and education, church, religion, politics, corporations just holding on to these nasties. And when Neptune and Pluto came together with these two signs in Virgo and Scorpio, they started to sort of rumble up and go, hey, did you notice this over here? Did you notice this over here? So maybe what they had in common was their detective problem solving skills so beautifully, which makes that indigo, that early arriving indigo, or the early Gen Xers, sort of phenomenal at identifying where there are problems, making proposals as to what to do with it.
This relationship did a great job getting all the energetic geographical maps together for where Pluto and Neptune could move on and bring the fire of Sagittarius, the moving forest, like the forest fire. Where are we going to put the forest fires? Where are we energetically, but some of it was literal. And Pluto going to Libra, this mutable air going like blowing it all over the place.
Yes.
Like let's make it fair. Let's try to make it even. Let's make it look nice. Okay. So Pluto's high. I'm thinking of it now. It's like Pluto hired Virgo for a while, came in, cleaned it out, made it really workable for the beautiful aesthetic that would come in afterwards.
In 1970.
1972, Libra went into Pluto.
Yes.
Think about how the style shifted at that time too. Like there was a major, like it went from like the 60s,
Foxy,
to like
breaking them,
to like Studio 54. And that's a Libra. Like, look at me. I am here. I am so pretty. My outfit is ridiculous, but it looks great. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's just, and it's going to stand out. And the things did start to stand out. And then the 1970 is when
just before that, Neptune went into
Sagittarius. So it's like, where am I taking this fire torch around? I'm going to move it over here. I'm going to move it over there. I'm going to give you about 3 statements about why you suck, and then I'm going to leave because I am very blunt. So Neptune has now gone from being this, like finding out where actually to do it, because Scorpio is pretty thorough when it comes to, if they're going to make a move, it's going to be the move. Okay. And what better way to execute the move is if you get something that is going to be like, hi, yeah, you're not doing this anymore. Okay. Here's why. Because it's stupid. It sucks. Nobody likes it. It makes people feel bad. It hurts people's feelings. It's not kind to animals. And that's why. Okay. Bye. And then there it goes.
It's perfect. Because when Neptune goes into Sagittarius, it goes into belief systems. It goes into learning, to exploring, to researching and studying it. So when Neptune, when that fire comes out with the relationship stuff of Pluto and Libra, it's like the combination of, we're not going to do it anymore. It's stupid. It's stupid. And the research says it's stupid. So let's just move it through. And so it's this educated Scorpio who's really looking at changing belief systems aligned with the value of people and relationships and the interaction between the two that happens with Pluto and Libra and Neptune and Sag. So Libra and Sag end up being an interesting dance too, because Libra, at its core, is it going to be about balance and what's my relationship with myself, with the world, with my work, with this or that. And then Scorpio is going to go, do you value that relationship? And you made those choices wisely. And so that's what I would want to say with the Gen Xers, is that this Libra Sag made those choices to step away from jobs, to explore new relationships, to bust out of gender, definitions. Everything that started happening in 70 to 72 forward to 83 was all like, we got our shit together and we know what we're doing. It's just really different than what you guys did, and you're not going to like us.
Yeah. And we don't really care.
And we don't care.
And that's one of the cool things because Scorpio does care deep down. Like, because like I said, they just don't want to get murdered. And it is the number one sign for people to actually be the murder E. And I'm not gonna in stories and in life. It's just like, and they don't even, it's not even, it's like I just found it out and I know you're mad at me for whatever reason, and they're just trying to stay away. It's like I always say the shipwrecked crew, if you've got all the signs on a boat. Scorpio lives the longest, not because it does anything, but because it has found such an amazing hiding space that no one will ever find it. It's like when I played hide and seek as a child, I have 4 planets in Scorpio. I was never found, and I don't play the game because I terrified my own self. Like I'd be like, I'm here and no one's ever gonna find me. Everyone hates me. Oh my
Can you
God.
believe
They don't
this?
even care. Like, but because you can hide really well. They do care what other people think. Sagittarius, though, Neptune now has Sagittarius there. Psh, you don't like it? And
Do it because the future, I've already done the research. We're going that way. Get on the boat or don't get on the boat.
yeah,
Doesn't matter.
like you can
And
come.
it's
I'll help you.
fiery.
So
It's
fiery.
passionate about like, hey, don't you understand this is where we're going? And yet I don't care. It's both.
Right.
I love
And
that.
remember, why we're talking about Pluto and Neptune is because they're the ones that are the outer planets. They heavily influence all the planets that are then closer and closer to the Earth. So
Mhm.
we go to like if we looked at Mercury, that's only going to tell the closest aspect. We're looking at how these planets in these particular signs that we're talking about then influence all the rest of those planets, which then in this little child that's Earth. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? That's why we're going up there. And also generationally, that's how we're looking at Gen X and Gen, uh, what's it, the millennials and Gen Z, boomers, silent,
All of them.
GI, all of it. So it's really cool because it makes a lot of sense. You put the Libra, the pretty, mutable air that's like, everyone can see me. I will flirt with all of you. Okay.
And I
Every
will transform any version of a relationship that you think you need to have because I know how to do this.
right. And then you've got Neptune, which is the emotion that's moving. It's not becoming over. It's blunt. It's being very direct, very blunt. Probably sometimes in some areas it got a little bit too blunt as per, Gen X, lighting stuff on fire and Beavis and Butthead. We can't blame the creators of that. That was a thing, but that made a lot of sense. It was a great parody. the
Yeah.
the humor that comes through Neptune with Sagittarius in it, the people that the creatives behind all those shows that were really, let's say, popular in the 80s into the early 90s, because somebody created them. That was the Gen Xers creating those shows, okay?
Yeah.
The early Gen Xers. So they're getting this energy, and it's like, it's really to the point. You can't really argue with it. It's
Well,
ridiculous. But
it just
Sagittarius is a little ridiculous.
well, Sagittarius is gonna take us into new territory, especially when Scorpio's involved in ways that we didn't know. So think of John Hughes. Think of
Mhm.
every movie that he did, what early 80s to mid 80s, right? And number one, it had nothing to do with adults.
Mhm.
Number two, it was all about pretty people exploring how they felt about relationships and how they were going to move things around. And number three, doing things that were so outrageous that had never happened before. And that was just the beginning of, think 65. You were what, at that point, 18 as a
Mhm.
Gen Xer, maybe going into, think of the timelines. How old were you in 1980? How old were you in 1985? How old were you, you know, um, in 1990? And what were the influences that were showing you what this Libra Sag playfulness, or I don't give a shit,
Mhm.
let's just take it where it needs to go.
Right.
And in the movies and the music, and we've talked about this, is reflective of that courageousness that these two coming together brought.
Right. At least they had a plan, organized beginning to
Mhm.
give it over to Sagittarius for Neptune to get it actually done. And and from Pluto got organized by Libra. Neptune all the while was like letting Scorpio do a deep dive and a lot of introspection of the planet and go through the woes and the pains and the dark. It needed to get a little dark, and great timing. And when it got dark, meaning deep. We're saying deep, not dark in a negative way, not black in a negative way. There is no negative, positive, any of this. It went deep, and all the while, Pluto got organized while this one went deep, figured it all out down here, came up, was like really tired, experimented with a lot of things. Like Scorpio does very well. It's
Mhm.
like I'll try that. I'll try that. That's not good for people. I am now a drug addict. I am now which is okay. I mean, what do I
Preoccupied with porn, you know? Loved it. Yeah.
I'm addicted to all these things. But see, this is what's been happening. This is where we're going. So we gotta have to figure this out. So Pluto being the most, intense magician of all of these planets is like, that's okay. So guys, get Virgo in there. Virgo's like, "Ugh, what a mess. Okay, let's fix it. And they just go fix it. And the details that needed to be fixed were details because it's like, well, why are you worrying about that? Who else would worry about something like that than Virgo?
Mhm.
Virgo is worried about the end table
Yeah.
because
Virgo's
it's
going
better.
to be the analysis of like, are you sure? I calculated all this. Is this where we want to go? I'm seeing some red flags here. And your
Mhm.
behavior over there is just, come on, snap
Yeah,
to it. We have work to do.
we
And
have
then when
work.
they jump, and when that Virgo jumps into Libra, it's another form of organization. It's just not so
Mhm.
physical matter. It's air, it's mental, it's perspectives,
Mhm.
it's presentation, in its self and self-awareness and awareness of you as a human. And it's like the what I like about Libra is that it goes from it goes into two, which is me in the relationship with this, me in
Mhm.
the relationship with my work, with that person, with this, with that. So it's a different kind of organization
Mhm.
that complements Virgo.
Mhm. It sure does. And Scorpio and Sagittarius have very good relationship with each other when it comes to um interpersonal communication. They're great at a party together because Scorpio is going to be like, ooh, look at those two people fighting over there. And Sagittarius is like, I know.
I know. And then watch, they're going to do this and they're going to do that because this is the pattern that I'm seeing,
And
and
like
then
Scorpio's like, so this is what's happening, Sagittarius. That person's heard about that. And then Sagittarius is like, got it. And then they go in, so mad at her because she said this to you. That's stupid. Guess what? Your husband's been cheating on you for 17 years with a man. And yeah, I met him. He's right over there. And Scorpio's just like,
that was so good. Let's do that again.
so here's what I'm going to show you during our brief meeting when they would all debrief each other. So I'm just going to wrap this up quickly by showing you the notes from the meeting that was had with Source or whoever is in charge at the table. So we have Virgo and Pluto, Neptune and Scorpio comes and does its little thing and says, "Here's what we're going to need." Um, I've been here since 57, with you, Neptune. And my deep dive has showed that we're going to need some rehabs. We're going to need a lot of rehabs because I need one. And so let them start popping up. And Virgo is choosing one example, but it's true. Think about it. Betty Ford, all those things, great.
Every therapeutic program I've worked in for years came about as a result of this. You're right on. Keep
Mhm.
going.
And Scorpio's like, yeah. So, and also these people are really, they're having some hard times. They're not actually, they don't need to treat them this badly though. Like there
Mhm.
is no need to lock people up for this stuff. Like, I mean, they're having feelings. It's deep feelings. They're very affected. Things have gone in a different direction. And we're also going to need some mental health treatment centers. And we're going to have this become a little bit more, less of, Sigmund Freud
Mhm.
and moving away from that because oh yeah, also all those new kids that are being born right now, they have a lot of feelings, so try your best. And Virgo's like, okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to put this together and get the infrastructure to make some really nice organized residential treatment programs. We'll start doing that. We'll also go into pharmaceuticals and do some expansion there because right now all we have is amphetamines and quaaludes. So we need to expand that a little bit more. stop. I'm taking the just go with this. So that's kind of what happens. And also, let's explore the earthbound things again. Let's go back to the earth. We are of earth, and there's a lot of great remedies existing in the earth as well. And so,
Right about them.
yeah,
Yes.
hello.
And
And
Virgo's Earth, so it's going to go like
let's try some mushrooms. Let's try
like
some
Planetary.
beautiful grass. They also call it marijuana. It works well too. We'll like, they can have a party with that maybe. And then, we'll also put this thing out like because people drink and Scorpio's like, oh, by the way, rehab also is for drinking. And people drive around too much when they drink. There's like a lot of shit happening like all the time, and there's nobody arrests them. Like, does anybody arrest these people for drunk driving? Drunk driving, like that's when drunk driving became like a crime too, if you think about it. Like these are the dark things that needed to be uncovered at that particular time. Then moving into when Sagittarius and Libra come to the table, you know, to
Mhm.
get
That
this
next notch,
information.
70, 70, 71, 72. Yep.
Mhm. It's like, okay, guys, can you make some of this stuff happen and leave and make it not be so severe because Virgo, even though it's a mutable sign, it's really, really, it's pretty intense as far as a mutable goes. But it's an Earth sign, so I guess it is the most because it's adaptable,
Yeah.
super adaptable. But then, like, can you guys make this sound better? Can you make this look better? Pluto says to Libra, can you make what Virgo said look a little better? Can we put this with somebody that makes this be appealing? Can you make all this darkness appealing? Libra's like, you got it, okay? And then Scorpio says to Neptune says to Sagittarius, now you know, uh, the vampire Lestat has returned from its debrief, meaning the Scorpio in Neptune, and has told has told us of all the things. I'm going to need you to make all that complexity that they've just told you in a very long, belabored. You feel like Neptune goes, listen, Sag, I feel like shit right now. Can you like not make me feel like shit anymore and get this message out? And Sagittarius is like, yes, I can. You betcha I can. And they're like, let's put it on like a Formula One suit, go drive through and be like, here you go, emotions. They're going to get really fast. You're going to have a lot of fun. And you know what? It's going to be great because like Scorpio kind of did bring a lot of depressing things up. Like all these kids are parentless. People are working, they're home by themselves. This is kind of we got to put a little bit of fun into this. And so, really, that takeoff of the later part of Gen X being, with Pluto and Libra, Sag and Neptune, that's when you were seeing more of the fire. Prior to that, you were seeing more of the like, Denise, what were you seeing? You were there. What were you seeing?
uh, it was so painful. There was so much pain, and overlaying the pain was this artificial smile. My hair looks good, my clothes look good, my family looks perfect. And it was sort of like the keeping up with the Joneses, but there were these sagging pains underneath everything. And Scorpio said, let's bring these two together.
Mm-hmm.
And so when Neptune went into Sag, what I love is that the new theories came about of softer therapy, of wilderness programs, of ways to work on our bodies through nutrition and yoga and health. Alternative medicines became really big. Like all these new versions of ways to heal came out, and so these Gen Xers are taking it decade by decade forward and just expanding it more and more. It's such a beautiful insight,
It
Ashley.
is. It's awesome. Virgo went through the inventory, um, said, okay. Scorpio said, these are the fixed problems.
Mhm.
This is what's going on. This is what we're going to highlight. This is what we're going to get brought at least to the surface. Now
Mhm.
it's surfaced because Neptune is the ocean and it crashed and it was like, bring it all up and here it is. And Scorpio knew where to look, pull it up. Virgo's got it organized perfectly for Libra because they know Libra's a little bit, they can be a little bit sassy and a little bit glitzy and glamoury. So Virgo's like, I know you're gonna make this look a little bit different, but here's everything you need to make this appealing. Okay. And then Neptune in Sagittarius. Here's all the information
Sort of
Scorpio just gave
spread it
you.
out. Yep.
Here's a big thing of just a lot of depressing things, things that they really need to be tended to. They're not depressing, but they're stuff that people are avoiding. This is everything people have been avoiding. Make them pay attention. And what happened?
For well, and that's the indigo truth. That's the frequency of truth. That's that Scorpio sort of brought it and said, you know, like, come on, we're not going to ignore this. And the truth started to rise up in all of these different signs through this. And so those of you, not me, but those of you who were born between 65 and I'm going to say 83, 84, because I like it better that way. Have been changing the world one piece at a time beautifully because of this. And I want to just bring this together because my favorite card in the deck, right, is Temperance. It's where fire and water meet and they become the passion, the direction, the core. So we have Neptune who's Neptune who's water, and we have Pluto that's fire. And this generation was given the melding of these two in some very crucial signs that helped bring some dramatic changes really fast. And it's
So
kind of like,
powerful.
thank you for putting this picture together, Ashley, so we could see the beauty and the symmetry of how this generation was fed and given information to go forward.
We would have no Netflix series if it wasn't for soap operas. So the temperance of Gen X has created the freight. Like that's why we have all of our streaming long series of anything because you put the passion, the water with the fire, you have a soap opera. If you watch them now, they're kind of funny, but it all began somewhere. So we want to thank you for that. Pluto, Neptune, Virgo, Scorpio, Sagittarius, and Libra for your huge role in really reshaping the earth. And, while we blame each other, I have no feelings right now about people. I'm thinking about this planetarily, and the purpose of that is because there's so much divisiveness in this whole world. And you know what? We are not in as much like you want to blame other people, want to blame everybody. I'm fall victim to that. I'm not victim. I fall into that category too. I sometimes get freaking so upset about stuff. And yeah, I can, and that's fine. And people do things and we can get upset. But also there's other things going on too that are not just entertaining to consider, but make a lot of sense. They are really these things. And a lot of people, you know what? That makes sense. So yeah, Libra wasn't perfect in the execution on some of this stuff. And Neptune, when it was in Scorpio at the end of the baby boomers, was kind of like, oh my God, like,
What are we going to do with this?
what? Or, oh my God.
You guys have just been pretending for so long. It's like a house of cards. It's all going to fall down. How are we going to do this?
And then the boomers then have these kids that are millennials, a lot of them. And the younger boomers, the older boomers have Gen Xers too, of course. And it's like their kids came out and whoa, like there's a lot of stuff that happened. And they had planets in different places and different stuff was going on. And this is what you get. So this is one way to look at it, to kind of take a little bit of the to bring some levity to the earthly three-dimensional like confinements that some people find themselves in. I don't so much, but I know I have in the past. I know Denise certainly could say that she has, that it like breaks it up a little bit to be like, well, it's another perspective. We're not claiming it to be the truth. The only truth is that we're having this conversation. That's all we're claiming to be true. Everything's true for you. It's not true for somebody else. So none of this is we're claiming as the be all end all. That would be awfully not the way that any of this has gone. So just take it if you like it, and it's a piece of thing that you can throw in a conversation. We'll be like, well, during Gen X, Pluto was in Libra. So, I mean, it does make some sense as to why some of this came out. Look at those clothes. Like they went from wearing like knee socks to Elton John.
Well, see now the bridge, right? They went from knee socks to this sort of high-waisted prep look into like, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm not doing that.
Yeah,
I just waited it out. I didn't do anything. I just watched it and waited it out. And it took a long time. And it still hasn't really, it's never going to go back. Okay, we know that. However, waiting for certain colors or styles to come back in that are at least not ugly to me was forever. And it was fun. It was watching it and going, oh yeah, no. And now watching kids who are even shattering it out even more and going, yeah, I guess this is just something to get really used to. It's good to get wild.
Yeah, it's been good. Thank you so much. That was so much fun.
It was wonderful. And if you want more information about Ashley or myself, you can go down into the description and you can get to our links. Please share this, pass it around. We're just having fun. We're just two women, historians, magicians, playing with. We dumped a purse out today. What's in there? We got these dates and we got these signs.
I think it makes sense. It's nice to get to know these planets in a little bit different way and kind of what their roles are when or the constellations with the planets and what their roles are when they're together. So
thank you. It's so wonderful. Thank you. Take care all. We'll see you on our next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.